Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger and it's tier list season again. And to quote Mayor Quimby, if that's the way the winds are blowing, let nobody say I don't also blow. Anyways, so as always with the tier lists, I'm going to be posting my opinions and my opinions only. If you want to skip ahead to see the end of the tier list, check wherever right here. I usually put the number, the timestamp here, so you can see the completed tier list and its finality. But what I'll be doing here is going over every single character in the game, discussing my opinion of them, going through the tiers we have right now, and of course these ads are popping up, whatever, I'll close those throughout the video. We have our tiers here of S, A+, A, B, C, and D. So each tier will be a successfully better group of characters than the ones below it. Now, not to say the characters below it obviously couldn't compete, but generally speaking, the ones on each tier that are higher are better than the characters below them. So without any further ado, let's just get right to it. Now, right before we start here, I do want to show you the old tier list. This is a tier list I had from about 2 months ago now as of time making this video. So some of the characters are going to be in the same spot. Some of the characters are not going to be in the same spot and could be going up or down accordingly. And of course, once again, I'll be going over everyone. I just like showing the older tier list when I make a new tier list to show you where we were at, and with general advancements of knowledge, tech, community opinion, because honestly, community opinion is a big factor in a lot of stuff, right? Just where we were and now where we are at. Now, just start off here where we're at. If you follow the channel, you probably saw the video, so let's just get right to it. Kotal is the worst character in the game. I have a very long video dissecting exactly why he's the worst character in the game, and honestly, I could have made it a lot longer than it was. The link to that video will be at the end of this video, but suffice to say, he's got issues. He's got issues with moves not really working the way they should, his general game plan and with how the game flow works. And the way he wants to play the game doesn't work too well with a lot of how just the general neutral and, you know, poking style the game has. Once again, I devoted a whole video to this. If you want to check that out, please check it out. It'll be at the end of the video. But suffice to say, Kotal has issues. Now, speaking of issues, let's just fill out here our D tier here. And let's go with Kano. Kano, and we'll close these ads again because they keep popping up. Kano is a character that started at the game's launch. He started honestly low tier. A lot of people can easily identify a lot of the issues with Kano, to be sure, and he's kind of only gotten worse since then. We had a bug fix patch, which as intended fixed bugs, but some of those bugs actually made him worse off, in that he can get punished for missing his grab way worse than he could before. In that, say, if you went for his command grab, which is a high, before, and you got uppercutted as a punish if you missed, wouldn't trigger crushing blow, which was a bug. It has been fixed, but that fix only hurts Kano, right? And now with the advancements of certain option selects being discovered, one of his main strings into a tick throw or hit kind of sort of mix-up can be defeated by a very simple OS of just literally wait 2 hits, let go of block, hold block again. And if you let go of block, you'll have the command grab miss and you get a free punish. And when you reblock again, if you went for the hit, then you flawless block it and it becomes punishable. So it's actually quite simple. You don't have to put a lot of like learning or training into it. It's easy peasy, honestly. And stuff like that really hurts Kano. Kano already has issues. He has, to put it in no uncertain terms, he has a very gimmicky style of play if he wants to win. He has to take big risks because he doesn't really have the ability to play too solid. And the things that do work for him in solid play are, to be brutally honest, way better on other characters. So these 2 characters here will be alone in their own tier at the bottom here, as I do consider them the single 2 worst characters in the game. Now, moving up here, much more hallowed place S tier. This one, if you disagree, I'd love to hear your disagreements, but the meta has gone to the point here where we kind of know who the best characters are, and these guys are your culprits here. So, oh yeah, it says Area 51 but MK because I found this like weird tier maker thing about Area 51 meme. I just modified it. It's fine. But anyways, these guys are generally speaking your pound for pound best characters in the game. You could argue, once again, this tier list here is purely a tier list. It's not going to be ordered in any particular way in the tier. But these characters are, for the most part here, just kind of wildly the best characters in the game. They're strong at different things, you know. Jackie is very much a bulldog, right? Aaron can play this weird little kind of 50-50 from mid-screen game. Garrus, depending on which variation, because he's one of the few characters that has two completely viable competitive variations, can play a weird tick grabber to just bully. There's no other way to put it. But yeah, these guys, through just tournaments, general play, people learning the tech, anything you can think of, these guys have proven time and again throughout just the time Mortal Kombat 11 has been released. These guys are heads and shoulders above the rest of the crew. Once again, you can argue with the order within the tier list, but these 5 characters are simply the 5 best characters in the game. Now, going 1 tier below, A+, so very strong indeed. First one here I want to put in A+ is Shang Tsung. So Shang Tsung is a really good character. Like, he's not the best, and obviously, like every character, even the best characters, they have some faults, right? But his general control of the neutral, his general spacing, like his damage is even pretty good, his tools, his options are really good. He's just a pretty complete package. He definitely favors more of a mid-range to long-range game versus being up close, and his tool set is very conducive to that, to be sure, right? Corpse Drop is one of the best projectiles in the game. It's incredibly damaging. That's one of the biggest things, especially if you enhance it. It does a lot of damage. It's not a traditional fireball. If you want to say like best traditional fireball, I'd say Cassie Low Gunshot. Maybe Sonya Ring, but actually I'd say Cassie Low Gunshot just because she low profiles a lot of stuff. But Corpse Drops, it's hard to deal with sometimes, especially depending on the character you are. And obviously he has a lot, a traditional straight fireball. The ground fire is really good. His suite of stuff just to harass you from a range is really, like, it's A+, baby. It's just really, really good. On top of that, like 4-2 strings really good. He's got one of the better down 3s in the game, especially because you have a back 3 to make it work with it, because it's very visually similar. And sometimes if you're just smashing down 3 and then putting the odd back 3 into either the combo starter or the sweep, it can be, as a defender, very hard to visually ascertain which is which, especially in such a small amount of time you have to deal with it, right? But yeah, he's a pretty complete package. Just great pokes, great tool set, great range game plan, pretty average damage, which you'd think he'd have below average damage, but he doesn't, and just really good also. So now moving forward here. So Cetrion, this is one character I had lower on the tier list, and as the game has progressed, she was like literally here as like the first week of the game. I was like, yeah, Cetrion's the worst, right? And she slowly climbed up, and honestly I think she's right here just below the best. The one thing about Cetrion, I will say, it's very dependent on the player. Like, you can fight a lot of Aaron, Sonya's, and Garrus's, and they can win just off autopilot, to be honest with you, right? Because the characters allow you to win off autopilot. Cetrion cannot let you win off autopilot. You just got to be good, right? Your spacing has to be immaculate. Your just concept of what's happening on the screen has to be very good, but the one thing about her is, once you are that level of player that can control that stuff, can kind of take everything in, she has a tool set to make everything work. You have to be very active with her. You can't just do the same coin flip stuff, oh, I did this, and then just, here's the flow chart afterwards. You have to be very active in your play and very active in your assessment of what's going on. But if you're a player that can pull that off, she can make things work. Especially, she has one of the best teleports in the game. Her range options are obviously second to none. And yeah, so she's just steadily climbed, and she steadily climbed the tier list, honestly, just through players putting in the work and putting in the effort and showing everybody that, hey, she can do it. Now, to go to the middle of the tier list here, this is one thing, more than any other pick I'm going to make here, that's going to be the most out of whack with anyone else's tier list, but I still stand by it, and that's Collector is here. So he certainly has some faults, certainly has some issues, right? And he's definitely not going to be on the big boy table over here, right? But I do find he's better off than, a lot of the more characters that have a lot of issues. So here, we'll switch over real quick to gameplay just to show you an idea. So here we are in game right now, and by the way, the Evo stage looks fantastic. Oh my god. This looks so good. Anyways, I'm gonna fanboy over the stuff here, but just to give you an idea, right? I like the spare change variation, which is definitely the less played of the two, and he's not a character that gets played a lot, to be blunt, right? He's already a character that doesn't get played a lot, and this is the less played of the two variations. But just to give you an idea of some of the kind of stuff he can do here, right? So you have a combo like that, right? And you might have noticed in that combo, at no point did the enemy get knocked down or get launched up. So that's an unbreakable combo. You can't use your breakaway. There's no launch. And you don't get knocked out at the end, so you don't get any wake-up options. And because the way I end it, with forward 4 and the grenade here, see, plus 21. So at that point, I can then do something like this. Dash forward here, and if I did it correctly here, dash forward and start hitting like a stand 4-4. That kind of setup right there. If you try to hit a button, if you try to jump out or anything, you're gonna get got. You have to accept it. Now, you could neutral duck it if you're very familiar with it, right? You could neutral duck it, but then again, at that point, then we have counterplay where I can just like do something like this, and then after the grenade, I can toss a DOT and get a couple ticks in, like that kind of stuff. And if you want to jump, then he has like one of the better anti-airs in the game, stand 2, that kind of stuff, right? Like this is the kind of stuff that makes Cassie Cage top tier, is unbreakable combos and the one variation, or restands in the other one, right? And we got a combo here that is both unbreakable and a full restand into pressure that you just kind of have to accept. Because once again, if you try to hit buttons or you try to jump, I get this set up for free, and then you just have to groove on it, right? So once again, Collector has problems, has issues, and I could do a whole guide in Collector, and I probably will after the patch, because I don't want to make a big guide and then have everything out of date if their patch changes how he works a lot, right? But a character with these kind of setups simply can't be the worst character in the game. A lot of people say Collector is the worst, or among the worst characters in the game. Once again, he has issues, but Collector, he has problems, but he also has some pretty good strengths. Now, in keeping with this tier here, let's give Collector a couple friends here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to be putting up Jade and Katana. Once again, I think I've said this before in a previous video. Jade community, good people, maybe a little crazy about Jade. Definitely downplay Jade quite a bit. Not to say Jade doesn't have issues, because to be sure, that's why she's on the B tier, not a higher tier, right? But Jade's pretty alright. Like, she's one of the more matchup-based characters in the game, in my opinion. There are matchups where Jade will just wreck you for free. Even like some of the better characters of the game, Jade can really do some damage to some of the better characters, right? But she does have, you know, lower damage output to be sure, lower than some. She does have a couple hitbox issues, especially with back 3, depending on like jump-ins where it can just literally go through your body. But she, you know, she can zone really good. A lot of characters struggle against air boomerangs and their constant just barrage of garbage she can throw at you. So it's very much a character of kind of extreme strengths and extreme weaknesses. The biggest thing holding her back is just her damage output. Like, she has to basically get so many more correct reads to win than the next person, you know. Say you're like Sonya or something, right? Sonya basically only has to get like 2.5 big reads on you to win, right? Jade has to get like 4 to 6 to get a win. So when it comes to guessing right, you know, the player skill obviously matters in guessing correctly, right? But when you're playing a character where you have to guess correctly more often, that definitely works against you. And now Katana as well. Katana is kind of a poster book character of just, yeah, she's alright, right? You know, damage is middling to below average. Her tools are not bad, but nothing's exceptional, right? Like, she has some really good pokes, some decent mids, but a lot of people have better pokes and better mids, that kind of stuff, right? She's just a character that just suffers from ho-hum syndrome. Like, everything she does, you can find better in a different character, and that's kind of her biggest mark against her. Now, moving on here, let's fill out the old C roll, but C's to get degrees, right? So we're going to put in here Shao Kahn and D'Vorah. So these two characters, they struggle. Maybe don't struggle as much as these guys here, but they certainly don't get a free pass here. They're only above here because they're slightly better. Definitely not worlds better here, but they at least got some stuff, right? The tech community has been finding a lot of stuff with D'Vorah, a lot of setups here for the farting bug, the pooping bug. If you Google it and Google poopy loops, there are poopy loops now for D'Vorah. That's a whole thing. D'Vorah, at least, she has some cases of extreme damage. A lot of her problems are frame related, because if you're not aware, before the game came out, there was the day 1 patch, and on day 1 they kind of changed a lot of the properties, a lot of moves in the game, and the version of D'Vorah before that patch was applied was a much better character. Also, Katana as well, much better character before that day one patch was applied, right? So a lot of her issues can be fixed with simple frame data changes. And if you revert that patch, she becomes just basically a way better character. So we'll see. Shao Kahn, once again, we've been over some of his issues in the past, but suffice to say, he struggles basically with people just kind of in his face. Some of his moves are highs that really don't need to be. But he has pretty good damage, and the corners damage goes up quite a bit. He's got one of the best jump kicks in the game, a lot of active frames, easy to convert off it as well anywhere on the screen. A lot of characters can convert off a jump kick depending on the angle where you are. Shao Kahn literally doesn't worry. As long as you get the jump kick, you get Shadow Charge and EX and a conversion for free. So like that is a big strength he has versus some of the other characters, right? But in the end, he still struggles. Certain moves just aren't that good. Like he, more than most characters, struggles from the variation system, as basically 5 of his 6 moves between the 2 competitive variations suck. So he got dealt a pretty raw deal there, right? I'm very confident in the future with balance patches he'll be a much better character, because I don't think it takes much to make him a better character. In fact, I made a video about it. But that said, currently he's still stuck in C tier. Moving on to A tier, since we have nobody here yet, let's put up Sub-Zero. So Sub-Zero is another character I find is often a bit contentious. On a lot of tier lists, you'll either see him like all the way up here or all the way down here, and very little room for the in-between, so I'm going to be that guy but do the in-between. Sub-Zero, good buttons, good damage, good screen control. In my opinion, there's just no way he's a bad character. One of the most infamous things he has is kind of the 50-50 stuff, which he has in both variations, but one more pronounced than the other. And he's a character that can really steal a game from you. If the guy who is playing Sub-Zero is so inclined, especially if it's in the more mix-up variation, he can get his hit in, freeze you, hit you, do the restand, be very plus, gotta get 50-50 again, and can repeat it forever till you're dead, right? Also, he has one of the most damaging, like, just the fatal blows. Why am I holding this? I don't know. He has one of the most damaging fatal blows in the game, which really helps that comeback potential, because if you get reset, then you get reset, you're potentially only 2 resets away from death, especially if he's low health, right? So he has a very solid game plan to begin with. There's no fault in it, right? It's maybe not, you know, super top tier or nothing, right? But it's certainly competent, and the fact that you can really easily steal games is pretty good. Also, a lot of matchups have to really respect him, because if you're inclined to throw a lot of projectiles, and you know he's inclined to throw, you know, ice balls a lot, right? There's basically no way Sub-Zero never wins that trade. Sub-Zero will always do more damage to you in the end than you will do to him, so you really always have to respect it. Now let's head back to B tier for a moment here, and we're going to put in 2 more unfortunate souls here in B tier, and that'll be Frost and Raiden. So Frost and Raiden, once again, I've said this and I made the video about it, I think they're on the cusp of greatness. They have stuff that works when you make the numbers a lot better, but as it stands, the numbers are what they are, and that's why they struggle a bit. Raiden, I feel you have to play Raiden. If you want to be successful and win with Raiden, you got to play a little crazy, honestly. Since the numbers on his stuff is bad, that's unfortunate, but he has like a lot of stuff, like, you know, like forward 4 and a Storm Cell. If you weren't blocking, that's a free combo, right? And it's certainly difficult to react to it because it's such a quick move. And the distance it travels is pretty extraordinary. Like, you know, you can definitely catch people just walking back and forth in neutral with it like that, like not a problem, right? But that's not solid play because it's death on block, and you won't be able to hit confirm it either. So you just got to go for it. Once again, issues like his back 1-2 is punishable on block by most of the cast when it's supposed to be just a basic hit confirm, which is, it just sucks. Honestly, that just sucks. He's almost there. If you want to play really crazy and ride the lightning, no pun intended, you can get your wins with him. But that's not reliable. If you're playing like a longer set, that's just going to go out the window. Maybe that works in the first of 2 or something. He needs help. Hopefully he'll get it soon. And once he does, he'll probably go way up the tier list. Frost, same deal here. Bad numbers, bad frame data, things that are slow that don't need to be slow, things that are punishable don't need to be punishable. Has a wide variety of hitbox issues, but the building blocks are there. If the normals had better frame data, I would absolutely put her higher up on the list, right? Stuff like her spin to win, that's a really solid move. Her somewhat awkward projectile is actually decent in a lot of variation, or sorry, a lot of kind of variety of situations rather, because it actually catches jumps a lot better than the average fireball does. If it does catch a jump, it's very easy to convert into an enhancement version, the EX version, and get your extra damage. She has stuff like the mortar, the long-range bomb, which has its own issues to be sure, but it's quite unique. She has quite a bit of range. When you're in the corner, she can do a lot of stuff like pressuring into a plus on block string that if you leave it, hey, you're plus, and if not, you get a full combo conversion. Most people got to pick, do you want to be plus or do you want a combo? Well, she's one of the characters that can do both, and that's pretty rare in the corner. She certainly isn't as poor off as these poor folks here, so that's why her and Raiden are up here. But great things in the future for a patch, to be sure, once things get fixed. But right now, she's just not that great. Alright, so now that said, let's just get some reliable folk in here. Just plain downright reliable folk here. So we're going to get Johnny Cage, Noob Saibot, and Kung Lao. So Kung, of the three I picked here, I think he's the biggest success story, because once again, early on in the game's life, everyone would put Kung Lao like literally right here, along with the worst of the worst of the worst, right? Kung has kind of grown to have a very reliable, if basic, game plan. A lot of forward fours, to be sure, right? And a lot of Z hats, EX to B plus and that kind of stuff. It's simple, but it works, right? He has better than average damage for the most part. Very easy to get damage because once again, forward 4. Forward 4 is a decent enough tool, has the range, very easy to hit confirm, is barely negative on block, and it's going to be a real workhorse in the offense. Once again, he still has big problems with pretty much everything except for that and his back 3 string starter are death on block, right? So you don't have too many options to work with. That and his 2-1 starter as well. Most of his strings are, you better believe in them, basically. Let's put it that way. You better really believe in them if you're going to go for him. But once again, he's just reliable. We've been shown, Foxy Grandpa is a great example. If you Google Foxy Grandpa Kung Lao, and make sure it's MK11 because he also played Kung Lao in the past in other games. But he's shown that this character can make stuff happen, right? He's certainly much better off than we originally anticipated. He's certainly not top tier, right? But he definitely has the basic tools to make everything work. Simple game plan, effective game plan. Speaking of which, simple game plan, effective game plan. I basically describe Johnny Cage to a T, right? Yes, Johnny Cage has issues. Most of them hurt box based. But he benefits from these issues just as much as he suffers from them. Johnny has the most wonky hurtbox in the game, and basic stuff will miss him that will hit literally every other character in the game. So while he struggles on offense sometimes with some of these hurtbox issues, he also benefits from them. And just for his basic game plan, Johnny Cage is the closest thing to Ryu in this game, like Street Fighter Ryu. He has immaculate normals, great normals, good conversions, great strings. Stuff like EX fireballs plus on block, not negative, plus on block, right? You can restand with nut punch, although it's only for a couple frames, but still a couple frames is a make or break, right? And he's just downright decent. Like, the biggest thing I can say about Johnny that hurts him is he's just too honest. Honest is a good code word for bad sometimes in fighting games, if you're not aware. He's got no real dirt, no real grease. He's not going to come out and like just hit you with something you never thought was possible, right? He plays a very grounded game. Again, this is what that game is now, right? So I think he's just all right. He's certainly not as good as the best, but he's certainly much better off than the people below him. And that said here, let's talk about Noob Saibot. Noob has got a bit of a surge of popularity lately. Even I put some time in the Noob. I have, like, the combos guides and the tips and tricks guides up on the channel. And Noob's pretty good. Like, he's got better than average damage. Much better than average damage in a lot of cases, actually. At his theoretical max, he's basically only behind Baraka's theoretical max damage. He's got really good strings, very high damage projectile. His projectile does 9% versus most people do 6 or 7, right? Really good screen control. Stuff like his back 1+3 string. If you're in a match where the enemy can't reliably punish it, that will dictate the terms of the match from that point in. Because that move, when it's not easily punishable, because characters like Garrus or Cetrion can easily punish it no matter where they are, right? But if you're a character that can't reliably punish it, holy crap, that's a game changer. That literally makes the matchup, because he can attack you with no hurt box at all and get minimum 30% to almost 40% if you want to do the more difficult combos. from this. But yeah, he's got every tool he needs. The only thing is, once again, it's very matchup based. He's one of the more matchup based characters. As characters that are very heavily into zoning, like say Cetrion, he actually struggles. And now I know you're thinking, well, doesn't he have the teleport move? That doesn't that beat fireballs? That's more of an on paper thing, to be honest with you, as the teleport's actually quite slow. It comes in at 30 frames. So by the time you as a human being can assess, react, most characters are going to recover by that time and they'll be able to punish you, right? So it's really good as a predictive move, but as a purely reactionary move, it's only going to get the truly slowest stuff. But that said, hey, it's really good in your combos and all that kind of stuff. It does a lot of damage. And when you do make that predictive call out, you're going to take them to the cleaners. But yeah, so solid character. He just really goes up, fluctuates more than the average character based on the matchup. Now, we got quite a few really good characters here, so let's just get them where they belong. And that is Scorpion, Jax, Baraka. So Scorpion, Jax, and Baraka, they're all going in the A+ tier. So Scorpion, I don't think he needs much of an explanation, honestly. Really good normals, really good neutral, very oppressive teleport that dictates a lot of matchups. A lot of characters can't play the way they want to play because Scorpion has the teleport on the table. His damage is really good. His damage is above average if he's in the right variation with the damage buff. Scorpion is just good. But let's go now to some less obvious stuff here. So Baraka kind of has the highest effective damage in the game for one. Baraka hits like a dang truck. His damage potential is insane. If he's willing to burn a crushing blow, he gets basically 50% anywhere on the screen. If it's in the corner, it's going to be closer to like 60% because of the DOT bleed after the crushing blow for gutted. It's just absurd. His it is scarier to get hit by Baraka than any other character because Baraka can really follow through with that damage, right? Besides that, his toolset's good. His Spark is one of the best fireballs in the game, bar none. The enhanced version is one of the more better enhanced fireballs in the game, bar none. A lot of his basic toolset, like the get in, forward 4-4, or back 2, while it's not going to set the world on fire, it does what it needs to do and get him in, right? Baraka is really strong at 2 ranges, far and close. The mid range, you have your tools just to get you in, that's about it. Bone Picker, the other variation with the command grab, it's weird, it's fun. It's obvious the one with the gut, it's like the way to go, but play around with it. He can actually play in a weird way that frustrates a lot of people because it's a ranged command grab, right? But other than that, he's just a tank. And his tool set also helps. The variation with Gut has the extended range normal, so his jump 1 comes a lot more downward arcing than the average jump 1, meaning it's a lot more easy to hit people or knock them out of their anti-airs if they're too slow. His down 3 is just a little shin kick there. It's actually one of the best normals in the game, honestly. It's plus 14 on hit. You don't even have to have any real sense of timing to get your jail off that, right? And for jailing, stand 1-1, or you can do the mix stand 1-1 or stand 1-1-2. And yes, stand 1-1-2 is flawless blockable, but then you can just do stand 1-1 and then go and try to chuck them, or do some sort of mix afterwards. Stagger with another stand 1-1 or go back 3-1 or whatever. Dude is scary. He's one of the scariest characters to have beside you, and he's not going to mix you up, right? He's not like Aaron with all this high-low garbage or Sonya high-low garbage. He's just got the basics, right? But the threat of the fact that when he gets you, it's going to be the most damage really anyone in the game can reliably put out. That's just terrifying. Now, going from that to, honestly, lower damage, right? Jax, while he certainly isn't the damaged threat that Baraka is, what he is just a nice bulldog. He's got so many tools. I don't think people describe Jax this way, but I am going to right now. He is very much a toolbox of a character. He has so many options. Now, a lot of those options aren't the best option, right? Grenade launcher is not the best fireball, to be sure, right? But it's there. It exists. It's a tool in the toolbox. That with ground pound, arm missiles when his arms are heated up, that gives him a pretty decent variety of stuff to work with from a range, right? And the main variation everyone uses, it's all about, the mix, right? Is he going to hit you with the overhead and build his arm heat, or is he going to just, you know, smack you with a quick little low? And while the damage isn't high, he has a lot of access to very easy to obtain crushing blows. Once again with the overhead, does a lot of damage. The command grab does a lot of damage. So the average hit won't be big, but the big hits will be big, right? And I just think he's one of the better characters no one really talks about. And actually, now that we just said that, right? Speaking of better character no one really talks about, Kabal, dude. Like, Kabal, man, Kabal's Kabal, right? Kabal is probably the best character that nobody talks about. Kabal is a monster at every possible range. His normals are among the best in the game, debatably the best in the game. He has a lot of great space control, like the air fireball. The only thing, he's basically top tier in every category but damage. His damage is a bit below average, right? And I think that's one of the things that keeps him from these categories of guys, because all these guys are very heavy hitters except for Cassie, but Cassie has the restand, right? He's just really, 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 really good. He doesn't really struggle in really any matchup. He's got quick-ish mids. He outpokes most of the cast. Like, I'm even, like, honestly having some difficulty articulating this, because he's pretty much the total package. Like, the only thing I could say is he doesn't have any extreme strengths, right? Like, everything is above average, but like a lot of these characters here in the tier above him have extreme strengths. Like something that extra shines through versus just everything being really good, right? But yeah, Kabal is just good. Moving on to the last two characters we have to work with here. First up here, let's just talk Scarlet. So I do believe Scarlet is a solid A tier character. She is a hard zoner. She has fantastic normals. Her damage is even pretty decent, right? Like your basic 2-1-2 combo is good for 30%. Maybe just slightly less if you want to end with the restand and be a little bit plus. Her suite of stuff is just good. The only thing I can fault it for is it is just good. It is not great, right? Too many characters can easily disrespect projectiles in this game, and that's one of the biggest things that hurts her. Like Shang Tsung, very dependent on projectiles as well, but he has really fantastic normals, gets a lot more damage. Cetrion can play such a weird game, a lot of air stuff too, and the teleport and all that kind of stuff, so, you know, she's also a bit removed from that. Scarlet's just a bit vanilla in that regard, and while I think that vanilla is quite decent and quite strong, a lot of characters don't have to just stand still and take it. And this game being what this game is, you know, a lot of people have their own fireballs, their own projectiles as well, and their full screen projectile war is always very subject to rhythm, right? Someone can have the better fireball on paper, but if the other guy just keeps hitting you and like hitting you in your startup and all that, and you're just out rhythmed, and generally speaking, whoever has a large health lead, no matter the quality of your projectile, if the other guy has a big health lead on you, it's a fool's effort to get into the fireball war with them, right? And Scarlet just suffers from, she's got to play that game a lot, and if she wants to get in, her footsies are certainly good, but they're not amazing. So I think she's a solid character to be sure, but hey, she's just right here. And the final character, so Liu Kang. Liu Kang, I think, is also a plus tier. I don't want to call him a gimmicky character because I don't think that's fair. I say a pressure character. But the one basic string, the 4-4 string, is a lot of what he is, right? The basic threat of, okay, here's the logical end conclusion of, if I end the string, I'm plus, it's my turn again, and back around the wheel we go, right? And yes, you can hit me out of it, but I can just stop and block, and then it's my turn again, or I can do multiple, like, fireballs, parry, whatever you want, or I have multiple ways out to steal my turn back if I know you're going to hit the button. And then, of course, you know, I can just hit once and then, you know, stick another turn and so on and so forth. Like that, it's the big wheel of what's the guessing game on this one, right? And that's the big part of his pressure. But that said, he's not only the pressure, right? Flying kick punishes basically everything at any point in the screen for the most part. It's a really, really strong tool. People are starting to learn that Wuxi Legend is also a very viable variation. It has its own stuff to work with and can work very well. If you bicycle kick, you restand him and you're plus. That's really good. His fireball suite with the dragon fireballs is also among the better in the game. Maybe not the best, but among the better in the game. he's a pretty complete package. And since the pressure is very much you guessing the enemy's tendency / just flipping a coin, the more he gets it right, and it definitely works in his favor. And also he obviously has the very strong crushing blow off of it if you guess correctly, or if he just gets a whiff punisher or whatever, right? And that's just really, really good. So yeah, once again, as with pretty much most of the characters here in the A+ tier, just very complete package. And there we have it. So this is my completed and final tier list right now for Mortal Kombat 11, where we're standing right before EVO. So sometime after EVO, potentially August the 13th, as that is the Tuesday, where we now know that Nightwolf is coming out because of the leak, because all that stuff happened, right? That might be the day where there's a balance patch, and thus everything will be scrambled and everything will be, all this will be worthless. But them's the breaks. That's just how tier lists go with balance patches and all that kind of stuff, right? If you're foaming at the mouth saying, how dare I put collector this high, check back earlier in the video. I talk about everything if you're a timestamp boy. And if you are a timestamp boy, hello. Thank you very much for watching the video. I appreciate it. But yeah, so that's it in a nutshell. So some things have gone up and some things have gone down since my previous tier list. I feel the top tier of this game has pretty much solidified at this point. And a lot of the bottom tier has also solidified at this point. And basically people are just kind of shimmying around in the middle echelons, trying to figure out where they go as some of the more underexplored characters get explored and new tech is found for some of the newer characters. But yeah, that's it. And that's it in a nutshell. So that's it for me. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. Go and play some Mortal Kombat.